Welcome back. In this video, I'll be showing you how to restore headlights using my buddy's 2008 Honda Accord. Compared to how they looked before, these headlights look almost brand new. And that's not even the best part. But we'll get to that later in the video. With that out of the way, let's jump right in. These are all the products I use, so if you want to pause the screen and take a screenshot, you can do that now. I also have linked everything in the description below if you want to find the products that way. Let's jump into the restoration. First, you want to start off with your soap and a microfiber towel. You want to clean the headlight to remove any bugs or any other debris that may be sticking to it. I like to follow this up by just spraying with water and wiping it off. This isn't completely necessary since we will be sanding the headlight, but I still like to remove any debris that may be stuck to the headlight just in case. Now we can grab our painter's tape and start applying it around the outside of the headlight. Painter's tape is perfect in this situation because it won't leave any residue behind when you peel it off. This is the easiest way to apply the tape, but it isn't the most efficient. This way will leave gaps and you might accidentally get some of it on the headlight. I use a much better way on the other headlight and I'll show you that once I finish with this one. You can also take a card and push in the tape around the edges of the headlight, then add tape where you see some of your car's paint, kind of like this small piece right here. Remember, any paint around the edges that aren't covered in tape is exposed to your sanding block. Now we can get the sanding with our 400 grit sanding block. So spray your headlight and sanding block with water and begin sanding your headlight. Try to sand every inch of the light and keep it soaked with water. Soon you will see the water become cloudy like this. You will also notice after a few passes the headlight is no longer yellow and it will have a slight haze to it. This is exactly what you're looking for. That means you remove the old condensation from the headlight and are ready to move up in your sanding block's grit. It doesn't take very long for the condensation to be removed from the 400 grit sanding block. Oh, and if you want to save some money, you can just buy the sandpaper and then wrap it around like a sponge or something. That will give you the same effect since the sponge will also compress just like the sanding blocks. You will also notice I am sanding from side to side the majority of the time. After watching some other videos, I heard it's good to do it this way, so when you apply your clear coat, it will help prevent the clear coat from running. I have no idea if this is true or not. I don't believe it will have that much of an effect on the coating. However, I will mention it requires no additional effort to sand it this way. So I figured why not just do it. Now keep sanding for a little while longer. Oh, and make sure you periodically spray down your sanding block or sandpaper. As you can see, the debris from the headlight can clog it up, making it less effective. So keep an eye on that. When you feel like most, if not all, of the yellow has been sanded off, go ahead and spray the whole headlight down and then wipe it off with your towel. Now this is important. Let it air dry for a couple of minutes. While it's drying, you want to look for areas that need more attention. There's a spot here that I want to try to clean up, as well as some areas around the edges. So I grabbed my water bottle and 400 grit sanding block and started again. I'm not going to spend too much time on this area, so now I will spray it down with some water and then wipe it off again with a microfiber towel. Alright, so that spot is still there, which tells me it may be on the inside of the housing. I'm going to stop there as I don't want to sand in one area too much. Now we can move on to the 600 grit sanding block. Go ahead and remove it from the packaging and drench it with water. Spray your headlight down too and then start sanding just like you did with the 400 grit sanding block. Just like earlier, I'm going to go in a side to side motion most of the time. You will notice the cloudy water doesn't get yellow like it did before, which makes sense because that was removed with the 400 grit sanding block. Now you will notice the water has a white hue to it. Just keep sanding for a minute or two or until you feel like you have covered the whole headlight. Once you are done, go ahead and spray the headlight down with some water to remove the cloudy water and other debris. Then you can wipe it down with your towel. Once your headlight dries, you will be able to see if you missed a spot or not. I noticed a spot right here in the corner that needs to be addressed. So go ahead and spray the area down and begin sanding again. Since I missed that corner, I'm going to go over the outer edge of the light again just to make sure I have covered every inch. Make sure you spray the headlight down again before wiping it off. Now grab your towel and dry the headlight. Then you can wait for it to completely dry and see if you can move on or not. That looks great. This is exactly the kind of haze I was looking for. When I first did this, I was actually kind of worried I sanded too much. But trust me, this is perfect. Now we can move on to the 1000 grit sanding block. Go ahead and remove it from its packaging. Then spray it down with some water. Spray your headlight also, and then you can start sanding. Using the 1000 grit sanding block or sandpaper will smooth out all the ridges left from the 600 grit and make your headlight housing feel very smooth. You will still notice a haze, and that's okay. The haze will fade once you complete a few more steps. That should be good. Go ahead and spray the headlight down with some water and then wipe it clean with the towel. Now give it some time to air dry. This should only take a minute or two. Alright, now that that's dry, we want to grab our alcohol and a lint-free paper towel and clean the headlight to make sure we remove any small particles that may have been left after wiping the headlight down with the towel. Once you start, you will notice what the headlight will look like when you are completely done. Let it dry after you wipe down the entire headlight housing. Alright, let's move on to the next step. So grab your compound and a buffing pad and start buffing the headlight. to prevent the compound from flying everywhere, I'm going to wipe some across the whole headlight. This worked out pretty well, as you can see. Make sure you get full coverage and then wipe it off with the microfiber towel when you are done. That looks great. Now do the same with your polish. Once you are done buffing, go ahead and wipe it down with a clean microfiber towel. That's how the headlight should look. We aren't done with this light yet, but we need to do the exact same thing to the other headlight first. You will find out why later on. Let's start by taping around the headlight to prevent the sanding blocks or the sandpaper, depending on what you're using, from scratching any of the paint. Do you remember me mentioning a better way to apply this tape? Check this out. There's just enough of a gap between the headlight and the surrounding parts, so you should be able to slide the tape in between. Just make sure the sticky side of the tape faces away from the headlight. In this case, it's facing towards the bumper. Obviously, this allows the tape to adhere to the bumper and stay off the headlight, which is exactly what we want. Since this is a long part of the headlight, I'm going to do the bottom in 2 parts. Otherwise, the tape would crinkle in the middle and possibly get in the way while you are sanding. And don't be afraid to use a ton of tape. Even little areas like this on the corner can be damaged from sanding, so you want to make sure the outer parts around the headlight are covered. Let's show you that trick again. This time, let's finish that section up top. Now, we need to make sure the sticky side is facing up while we slide a piece of tape between the headlight and the fender. Once there's a 1/4 to half of the tape width under the fender, we can fold the tape up and push it onto the fender. Perfect. Let's do this one more time. Also take note, you want to make sure the piece of tape is close to the same size as the area you were trying to cover. Don't make it too small, or else you will have to go back with another piece. Since this piece was bigger than I needed, I will just tear off a portion just like that. Now we can slide it in and then fold it over. I'm going to take that extra piece of tape and put it down in this corner. Once you are satisfied with the coverage of the tape, you can start the sanding process. So grab your 400 grit sanding block and begin sanding in side to side motions while keeping the headlight drenched with water. Then wipe it clean with your microfiber towel and make sure it's dry before continuing with the 600 grit sanding block. When it's dry, it will give you a clear view if you need to go over certain spots or not. This looks great. Once you are ready, go ahead and do the same with the 600 grit and wipe it down. And finally, do the same thing with the 1000 grit. And again, wipe it down to dry it. At this point, your headlight should look similar to this and you can begin using your compound. Just like before, add some to your pad and start buffing the compound into your headlight. Then wipe it down with a microfiber towel to remove the excess compound and then do the same thing with your polish. Alright, now this is kind of what your headlight should look like at this stage of the process. The housing will still be cloudy, but the compound and polish definitely cleared it up a bit. Take a look at this comparison. Definitely a difference. Now we need to get ready to add the clear coat onto the headlight housings. To prevent overspray, you need to grab your drop cloth and completely cover the front end of your car, including the windshield. You don't need to make this a work of art. All you need is complete coverage, and you can use painter's tape to secure it to the car. Once you make sure the drop cloth will not move, you can slice 2 holes in the middle where the headlight is, just like that. Now on each headlight you want to pull back on the drop cloth a little at a time and then secure it with some tape. The easiest way to make sure there are no leaks is to put the painter's tape directly over top of the painter's tape you had underneath, just like that. This ensures that you don't spray your paint or anything else in that area with clear coat. Make sure you check around the edges and add some more tape as needed. Now go to the other headlight and do the exact same thing. If you notice part of the headlight is covered with tape, like this area right here, try to remove it if you can. A razor blade works perfect in this situation. The next step is to grab your alcohol and a lint-free rag. Lint-free is a must in this situation. Go ahead and wipe down both headlights to clean as much debris as possible. Once both headlights dry, grab your tack cloth and wipe down each housing. This will remove any dust or other debris that may have been missed from the alcohol. It's pretty tacky, hence the name, but it does move pretty smoothly over the headlight housing. Now that both headlights are clean and free of any particles, we can jump into the clear coat. Here's the clear coat I am going to use. You want to make sure you do some research on which clear coat you want to use. This one I'm using received pretty good reviews, so I decided to go with it. I'll show you the instructions in a moment, but first you need to shake the can for 2 straight minutes. Alright, now let's take a look at the instructions. As you can see, first it says to shake the can for 2 minutes. Check. Now we need to take the red cap from the top of the can and put it on the bottom. Then press the red cap down. This activates the hardener inside of the can, so make sure you're ready to start spraying after pressing it down. So go ahead and cut the tape that holds the cap to the can and then cut around the red cap so you can remove it. Once that's removed, you can press the red cap into the bottom. It takes some force, so the easiest way is to place it on the ground and press down on top of the can. You can put the clear cap back on the top if you want a flat surface to press on. Now we can start spraying the clear onto the headlight housing. I decided to spray a little on the drop cloth just to get a feel for the spray can. Some nozzles are easier to press down compared to others. I started off by spraying about 6 inches away from the headlight and made sure the first coat was very, very light. The main thing here is to get full coverage without any drips. Just like that. Pretty simple, right? The next 2 coats will progressively get heavier. This first coat gives us a good base for the next 2. You also want to wait 10 minutes before applying another coat. This will give the clear coat enough time to settle before spraying more onto the headlight. After 10 minutes, go ahead and apply your second coat. Make sure you shake your can between each coat too, since it's been setting for about 10 minutes. Like I said earlier, this coat will be heavier than the first. Spray it while trying to maintain a 6-inch distance and make sure you get full coverage. Now wait 10 minutes before applying the last coat. Alright, this coat will be the heaviest. However, that does not mean you want to apply too much. You don't want to create runs at this stage of the process. So watch what I do. First, shake the can again just like before since it was setting for about 10 minutes. Now you can follow the same method as before. Just slow your arm speed down like this. Perfect. Slowing your arm down allows you to apply a heavier coat without the risk of creating. Alright, after 10 minutes, you can now remove the drop cloth. Just make sure you keep it off of the headlight as you don't want it to rub or slide over top of it. I started from the bottom edge of the headlight and slowly peeled the cloth away from it. Since we are using painter's tape, it's fairly easy to peel back. Keep working your way around until it's completely off. Then you can begin peeling off the remaining tape from around your headlights. Now you need to wait a full 24 hours before doing anything else with these headlights. This gives the clear coat enough time to cure to the housing. This is very important. You don't need to go back to working the light at exactly 24 hours. You just want to wait at least 24 hours before continuing. If you have to finish a week after, that's fine too. I decided to mess with the buffer a week later and notice a much bigger difference. Just check this out. Doing this with a buffer yields much better results compared to trying to get it done by hand. These headlights actually look pretty good. If you want to make your headlights perfect, get yourself a buffer or borrow or rent one for this project. If you just want to see better at night, don't worry about the orange peel. My buddy was satisfied with how these headlights came out and could see 100 times better at night while driving. That's really all that matters. For a car that has over 360,000 miles, these headlights actually look pretty good. And now for the best part. If you go to a Honda dealer, they will charge you $255.64 per headlight, meaning you will be spending over $500, which is insane compared to what I spent. Are you ready for this? I spent 1/10 of that price, totaling $52.91. Now I want to mention I did have some of the products already, like the Meguiar's compounded polish, which is why I was able to keep the total down. But don't worry, some of these products can be used for other things too, so you aren't just buying them for your headlights. If you want to follow the same process, I have everything linked down below. If you tried this method or use a different method, comment below and let us know what you did. That's all there is to it. If you found any part of this video helpful or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss a video from our channel. Thanks for watching and we'll see you on the next one.